Welcome back to the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis Tire. My name is Donnie, and we are heading back to the East Coast and a very early start time to boot this weekend as we visit the famed Atlanta Motor Speedway for the 13th round of the 2023 Supercross Championship. As always, 5 riders to note when picking your team, tips for the FFL, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team is going to be on Saturday. But first, some injury updates as we lose another 450 factory guy, this time Christian Craig down for the season after a gnarly whoop section crash put him out for the season. Cole Seeley and Anthony Rodriguez won't be lining up at the MCR Honda team as they are only racing West Coast rounds. On the plus side, we are getting privateer favorite Cade Clayson back, as well as a smile on Mitch Payton's face as we finally have the return of Joe Shimoda making his 2023 debut for that Pro Circuit Kawasaki squad. No word on Michael Mosiman's return, however, and it looks like Marchbanks needs another week to cook before returning to the series. Do not forget to keep an eye out for the red crosses next to the riders to denote that they are out with injury, as well as checking the box at the top of the page after qualifying to filter out those guys that did not even make the trip to Atlanta. All right, 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid. High handicap guy for you gamblers out there. Starting in the 450s, I'm looking all-star, and I'm only looking at Nate Thrasher. Hunter is carrying a negative handicap, and rightfully so, winning every round but one, but there is a massive void all the way back to Thrasher at a 3. He has clearly separated himself as the second best guy in the class, finishing top 4 75% of the time with 0 DNFs. This is a great time to point out that next week is an East-West showdown, meaning that only the top 4 on each coast will be all-stars, with everybody else being eligible for double. Anyone you pick this week will not be available next week. So with that being said, you might want to save Joe Shimoda for next week. He is a -2 this weekend, and if he crushes it, you will be fine. But if he comes out of the gate a little slow, say somewhere between 5th and 8th, you didn't score any points this week, and his handicap goes up by a ton next week when the coasts join and everybody's handicap goes up, and you will be locked out. If you have a ton of faith in him for his opener, go for it because he's not a bad pick here, but he could be an even better pick next weekend. On your 450s, the All-Star, I still think you're best to bounce between the top 3, and this week I think Coop is the guy. This is going to be a gnarly technical track as the Speedway backdrop makes you think it could be a Daytona experience, but Atlanta soil is completely different, some of the best on the circuit, and a technical tactician like Webb is poised to bounce back this weekend and put together a great weekend for you. Moving on to a double eligible big bike, the Suzukis are on the up, and Shane McGrath still has a ton of value after putting up 36 last weekend. His handicap remains high at a 7 despite finishing 13th in 3 of the last 5 rounds. And get this, his worst in the period was still a 17, which would be worth double points this weekend. The high handicap hero of the round given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out a little LCQ action for a big payout. The 450 class is thinning out, and right now there are only 21 guys on the entry list under a 16 handicap, so someone unlikely is getting in the main regardless. Let's look at the most likely guy to do it this weekend, and that is John Short. Comes in with a 16 handicap despite making 5 mains in the first 12 rounds and being the odd man out last weekend, finishing 5th in the LCQ. In fact, his last 3 missed mains, he finished 6, 6, 5 in those LCQs. And with Craig, A-Rod, and Seeley gone like they are this weekend, those would have all gone Shorty's way for big points in the mains. The FFL this weekend is literally right after the start. Take the big sweeper, table on, table off, little triple, and then the line. So whoever you pick better get the jump. 250 still hang on Hunter as he literally has half of them this year, but Thrasher's Yamaha could play spoiler this weekend. Tomac and Sexton furthered their lead, taking all 3 last weekend. In fact, those 2 have more than the rest of the field combined, so I think the smart money would be to stick with either of them this weekend. Press day canceled on Friday for weather concerns, but there will be no such concerns on race day as it is going to be a nice, bright 78 with sun peeking through clouds all day. And with that, our first super early race of the year, qualifying starting at 9:30 Eastern and a disgusting 6:30 for my West Coast friends. RotoMoto Patreon supporters get the enhanced cheat sheet at 1:30 Eastern before the rest of you see it on both Twitter and Instagram at 2 p.m., an hour before the picks lock and the gates drop at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Before I show you my team, I want to talk about Maxxis Tire coming on for all 17 rounds so I can deliver these videos for you. You know Maxxis Tire. You know their MX ST tire designed by the king of Supercross and my all-time favorite rider, Jeremy McGrath. It is the newest and most advanced tire in the Maxxis MX lineup, featuring an all-new tread pattern, compound, and composition to provide the stability, predictability, and traction that the upper tiers of motocross demand. Available at your local retailer and also at motosport.com. My Thursday team features Thrasher as my all-star, rookie Talon Hawkins at a 7. I have HEP Suzuki's Marshall Welton also with a 7, and I am partying with Hardy Munoz and his 9. 450 side Cooper Webb and his 1 for my all-star. Justin Hill penciled in as my safe pick at a 2. Grant Harlan with a 7, as well as Josh Cartwright at a 9. The prize for the High Championship League score in Atlanta is a Max Anstey jersey, but if you're not great at fantasy, that is okay. If you want a chance to win authentic race shoes and autograph memorabilia like this Jeremy Martin front number plate, consider joining me over on Patreon. For just about $1 per week, you're entered to win race shoes and autograph memorabilia, and insiders and above double their entries, as well as an exclusive podcast talking fantasy stats on every rider in the field, and that enhanced cheat sheet that comes out every single Saturday. Link for that will be in the description below. And don't forget to follow at PulpMX Fantasy and at RotoMoto on both Instagram and Twitter for injury updates as the weekend rolls on, qualifying info and stats and banter throughout the race itself, and those fantasy cheat sheets once qualifying is done and wrapped. Thanks as always for watching the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis Tire. My name is Donnie, and may your chiz this weekend. Remember that 8 is great, and most importantly, just have fun. Good luck, y'all.